Okay, now we got them in the ground. If you're going to fertilize, before fertilize, once I plant them in, then, yay, another one I'm saying. Have a plan to control your weeds. If you don't control your weeds will control you, okay? And not only do weeds take vital nutrients and resources away from your plants, they're also notorious for harboring diseases. So, you can mulch. I do. This year I used hardwood and straw. The negatives on those is they take a little nitrogen out. I just put the nitrogen back. The other thing is grass clippings. It's good organic till in next year, works great. Tends to mat up and doesn't let as much moisture go through. Is my personal negative knock on that one. And oak leaves, ground up oak leaves. I have like one of those leaf grinder things, and I've also used that. Again, that gets a little bit messy because it goes all over the place. And I always leave a spot open at the bottom of the plant, pure dirt, like that. Okay, I don't mulch up to the plant. I keep a place open, and that's because you can side dress with fertilizer. You're going to use fertilizer, plant 2 weeks after you transplant, and then again about a month after that. I use an organic one from Gardener's Gardener's Supply. It's an organic base. You can use 10-10-10. There's TomatoTone. There are a lot of different fertilizers. You have to play around with, and take a look at what you want to do as far as, what you want to use and what works for you.
Just heading away.
So the next thing is foliage diseases. I have to talk to you about foliage diseases. I have that problem. A lot of people around here do have that problem. It's a fungal-based disease. Okay, the most common ones around here, and I got them right now: early blight and septorial leaf spot. Those are the most common fungal diseases around here. There are others, but those are the most common ones. And as soon as I see the roots set, what I call the root set, and the roots have set when you see growth. You notice how when you transplant a tomato plant, it just kind of sits here for a while and doesn't do much of anything. But about several days, depending on weather conditions, whatever, it could be a few to several days later, you start to see positive growth. If you have an issue with foliage diseases, start your treatment then. Okay. And there are a few products here that I brought with me. And I'll just run through them real quick, tell you what they do and how they work, give my recommendations. Copper, fungicide, bonide, organic. This is my go-to product right here. Okay. Now, the environmentalists will say, well, this does not break down well. Okay, I understand that. I'm not spraying 4 acres of 50 acres, 20 acres, I'm a backyard gardener. I mean, I just don't think I'm going to have that much of an environmental impact there. And the other thing is when I was a kid, I put pennies in my mouth. I mean.
Yeah, but look at you now.
Look at me now. Because, I'm only 22 years old.
Can I see that?
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, now, sometimes remember when I was saying my hard and fast rule is I have no hard and fast rules? Well, sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes I use Serenade. Okay, the Serenade product is, it works differently than the copper, and I will use this initially because it's good for pre-emergent, that's good for post-emergent. I'll use this product, then I'll lay off of it a week, and then I'll switch to the copper. I do that some years. Okay, now this, like I say, is a bacterial-based product. Okay, what that means is there is a bacteria in here that eats the fungus. Okay, But don't forget, you're spraying bacteria around. Probably not a good idea to spray it on yourself. You might want to spray it on the tomato plants instead. Now, I haven't had that issue. Okay, I've gotten very little on me. And again, even though I'm 22, I'm still alive. 39 actually. So, and again, you know, that's the negative of this product. It is bacteria based, but again, personally, I've never had a problem with it. Okay, now, the first two products were organic. This product, Daconil fungicide, is not. Okay, it's not organic, but the environmentalists like it because it breaks down really well. Some people swear by this product. Okay, you know, other people go with the copper. Again, back to the hard and fast, you got, or the, you know, you got to find what works for you. You know, you got to find what works for you. And in that second picture of this year, you can see some of them have the fungal disease. You can see some fungus disease in those pictures. Next thing is harvesting ripe fruit.
Can I ask you, how often do you do the treatment?
Always follow the directions on, for whatever product you use, read the directions and follow them. And it's a 7 to 10 day cycle. Almost all of them use the 7 to 10 day cycle. I do it once a week. Sometimes if it, you know, we get a lot of real hard rain or something and I just did it and it washes everything off, then I'll do it again and I'll wait another 7 to 10 days, blah, blah, blah. So, but follow the directions because these aren't the only fungicides on the market, okay? But just follow the directions on whatever product you use. So yeah, now we got everything in, got it mulched, everything's growing, fertilized, things are going really well. So now, good. Time to enjoy it. You know, we got to pick some fruit and stuff. You know, go by color field. Should have some squeezability to it. And you can actually pick any time after it blushes, but before it's fully ripe. And you might want to do that for like this week where we had all that rain, get a lot of cracking and splitting. In fact, even this guy right here, see that's called radial cracking. That's what that is. And if you've seen some that goes around like that, that's concentric cracking. When it splits like down the side, that's splitting. Pretty self-explanatory there. Well, now, when you get ready to pull these things, especially if they're not fully ripe, you know, you might do the old twist and pull, and that's what you do. You grab a hold of the pedestal, and the pedestal is the thing that leads up to the top of this, you know, right here on the stem. Stem, pedestal is actually the technical thing. Grab a hold of that, twist and pull. Sometimes they don't want to come off. Snip them off. I use these, they're briskers. Nice and sharp. Then you can store them on your counter, never in direct sun. Okay, now, next question is, you guys didn't do it. Nobody asked. Stem up, stem down.
Oh,
Well, the general, that's an age-old debate. The expert's opinion changes about as often as that traffic light over there on the right? And so, you know, if you go to my kitchen about any time, you'll see them both up and down. My preferred, you know, I got this one laying this way. I know that this isn't fully ripe and he's pretty tough up here. But for these big ones that are ripe up around the shoulders, as they get bigger, blossom and down. Okay. And then, you know, the other ones, you can play around with it. Sometimes I actually turn them. So again, my hard and fast rule is I have no hard and fast rules. You can go in my kitchen right now, you can see them both ways. And sometimes they'll be one way, and the next day I'll go along and I'll turn it over. So whatever you want to do there. So seed saving, I have a handout of exactly how to do it up here. But I'm going to tell you, and for anybody that doesn't get it, I should hold one back because it's got my email address and you can just email me or I'll send you a copy. But anyhow, you take a dead ripe fruit, Overripe's fine, underripe isn't. Slice it in half at the equator. I use my thumb to go along in the locules, and the locules is those little holes that's got the seed and the seed gel in there. And what you want to do when you do this is this fermentation method. Yeah, you can pop that thing open, squeeze the seeds out, put them on a paper towel, and that's fine. Next year, after they dry, it's a little hard to get them off the paper towel. Second thing is, if you buy seeds, do they come stuck to a paper towel? No. They use the fermentation method, which is what I'm going to describe here. You pop that thing in half, squeeze it, I go to each one of the locules, and I can just go like this right around the tomato, and I'm putting that into one of those pint-sized containers. A lot of times if you go to a Chinese restaurant and you get the small soup, that's a container I'm talking about. Any container like that will work. So I squeeze those things out, and then I add a little water. I always go to my best plant or plants. Always go to your best plant. Any fruit on the plant's fine, but the genetics are in the plant, not the individual fruit. So if you have a poor performer and a good performer that just, and this poor performer just happens to throw out one beautiful fruit, if you save seed from that one beautiful fruit, what you get is another poor performer next year that throws out one beautiful tomato. So get them in there, put a little water on top. Then I put mine in the garage. Because what's going to happen is this yucky, stinky mold will form on top. In hot weather, it's going to be 2 to 3 days. In cooler weather, it can take longer. And when you see that mold, then you know that you can go ahead and process the seeds. Of course, when you put that container, you make sure you mark on that container, and I use the little sticky labels. Make sure you mark on the container what the variety name is. You don't want them all mixed up. So we got the yucky mold on top, and I think my camera ran out of
13 minutes.
Woo! So where was I? Oh yeah,
You play with the
we got
mold.
that nasty mold, and so I do this with a water hose. You can do it in the sink, whatever you want to do. But you add water, okay? Let things settle down a couple seconds. All your good seeds are going to sink to the bottom. Okay, the nasty, bad seeds will float to the top, and you'll have all that nasty, gnarly junk on top. Then you pour it out. Add more water, pour it out. Add more water. And you keep doing that until the water comes up clear. Then you pour it out one last time, and I use the little plates, little plastic or little, paper plates. Okay, and write the name of it. Again, write the name on the variety. Dip it on that. Let them dry. Then I take the seeds and I'll put them in those little coin envelopes and store them in a cool, dark place. The one optional thing you can do, and I do this, is to prevent any seed-borne diseases. You can do the optional bleach bath. So what I do is take, one of those little containers, pint-sized containers, of course, and I use about a 3-to-1 ratio of plain old Clorox bleach and water. Okay, mix that up, put the seeds in there, 5 to 10 minutes, no more. Okay, and I usually go about 5 to 7 minutes. Then drain that back off, and I have those, little, not a sieve, but the strainer. Thank you. Have a little strainer there that I just just put it in, and I rinse it off with the water hose. Then I flip it on the aforementioned paper plate and put it up for storage.
When you say 3-to-1, is it 3 parts water, 1?
3 parts water. Yeah, I'm sorry I wasn't clear. The question was, what is the exact ratio? It's 3 parts water, 1 part bleach. At the end of the year, again, I suffer from, not me personally, my tomato plants suffer from foliage diseases. So I burn the plants at the end of the year. I take them down, I burn them, I don't compost them. Now, the seedlings I was talking about earlier that haven't got the disease and stuff like that is, I'll compost that. Tomatoes, I use slicing, there's parts of, all that vegetable matter, I compost. But diseased tomato plants, I do not compost, I burn. So now we're all the way at the end of the season. We've saved the season. We've got full life cycle on. And I can tell you, I can still remember this. And whenever you guys do this, there's nothing like the feeling you get when you save tomato seeds and you put them in and you germinate them next year and they grow. You will remember that feeling for always. Yes?
I have a question about, I was reading several books. Now, one book.
That's your first problem. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. No, you should read your books.
Probably, but anyway, one book said I can plant my tomatoes in the same spot every year.
Yeah.
And the other book said, no way, you're not supposed to plant them in the same spot. And I'm just planting full of tomato plants.
Okay, the way I answer that question is, yes, if you have the luxury of being able to do crop rotation, that is truly the best and most recommended procedure. I don't have that luxury, okay? I plant in the same place every year, okay? And most of us do, okay? There are not that many growers that have so much space and such a big garden that they can move stuff around.
Well, I don't have a big garden, but I can plant them in between flowers. Is that all right?
Of course. Yeah, and in fact, I don't do it anymore because I'm on too big of a scale now. But your marigolds, planting tomato plants surrounded by marigolds, it's a good thing because bugs are going to go to the marigolds and sell tomato plants. Yes?
What was the name of the
Yes.
I do not know the exact brand name. I don't remember it. It was so many years ago. But hopefully you can get it from the description. It's a metal cage about this square that you double stack. Okay.
Gardener Supply has a sale on tomato cages now.
Okay.
Where is that?
Gardener Supply.
Gardener Supply, Gardner.
Oh,
And I think that Gardener Supply and I think Burpee were the last two that when I checked had the big square cages. There are also the Texas tomato cages and they're pretty expensive. Yes.
After the season is over, the soil, do you still treat it with copper still to try to get it out of the soil? Is it something that stays in the soil?
Yes,
or
it stays in the soil. No, I don't do any further treatment.
is that wise to do or not?
I don't know of anybody that does that.
I get that every year.
Yeah, I just fight it from coming up and deal with it that way. Now, over the years, I get a lot of questions, as you guys can imagine. So, the last thing I want to do is review my most commonly asked questions, and I'll wrap it up. I'll be tired of hearing me talk anyhow. Without a doubt, the most commonly asked question I get is how often do you water your tomato plants? My answer is, and I'm going to tell you all the same thing, it's going to seem like the most snarky answer in the world, but I assure you it isn't. I water my tomato plants when they need watering. And I'm talking in-ground plants. Of course, if you're growing container plants, once they get big, you got to water those things every day, and sometimes when it's real hot and dry, you got to do it twice a day. But my in-ground plants, I water them when they need watering. I've watered my tomato plants one time this year because that's all they needed. Okay, and the way to check, the roots aren't at the surface unless you water every day and you just water a little bit. The roots be at the surface, but if you don't do that, the roots are going to be down. Just get down a little bit and see if there's moist down in there. A lot of times you can tell. If they're wilting, you might want to give them some water. And when you do water deeply. The next most common question I get is, what is this black, moldy sunken, yucky looking thing on the bottom of my tomatoes? The answer is, that's blossom end rot. Blossom end rot is actually a calcium deficiency in the fruit. However, that doesn't mean that the plant or the soil is deficient of calcium. Scientists have taken tissue samples, and they have found that there was plenty of calcium in the plant. But when the plant gets under stress, most of it's weather related, a lot of water, not very much water, drought followed by a lot of rain, that is what sets it off. The plant's under stress, just can't distribute the calcium like it should. If you want to get the sprays or treat the soil or whatever you want to do, you know, put the eggshells down, the coffee grounds, all those old things you'll read about, you can. It's not going to hurt anything, but it's also not going to change anything either. You know, get one plant, get a couple plants that's doing it, and don't do anything to one, and do whatever you want to the other one, and you'll see they'll grow out of it about the same time. And some varieties are more susceptible to others. What about using Epsom salts and or you know, any of the foliar feeders? Do it. Experiment. See what works for you. Have a controlled plant and non-controlled plant. The one warning is, if you use Epsom salts, either in the ground, you know, as a side dress, only do it twice a year. If you spray with Epsom salts, only do it a couple times. Watch yourself. Because what happens is, man, that plant will turn off. I mean, it'll grow and it'll be all nice, dark green and all that kind of stuff. It just won't set fruit. Now, if you really like looking at a tomato plant, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that, because I'm growing them for the fruit myself. And my last one is pinch suckers. I always get that question, pinch and suckers. Okay, on the big beefsteaks, or if I'm growing for a big one, I pinch suckers up to the first cluster. Cherry tomatoes, I never pinch suckers. Early girls and other small fruited, I do not pinch suckers on them. If I'm growing for a big one, which I'm not doing this year, this just happened. On this one, I did pinch up to the first cluster on this plant. But if I'm growing for really big tomatoes, then I pinch all the suckers, and I keep it down to like 2 or 3 main stems. And I really feel a lot of pruning. But that's basically it. I just pinch up, for the most part, just pinch up to the first cluster and let them go. So, that's, I think I've covered darn near everything. But in case I haven't, I'm opening the floor to questions.